For people who don't know who you are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm Rollo the Puerto Rican Pistolero. I play video games and talk on the internet like a lot of other people do. I didn't originally start that way. I was back in the day, which was probably a Wednesday. I was off social media for years, didn't want to have anything to do with anything, and was very aware of the world that we lived in politically.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got into the gun space, and that's where I really got started. Going back on the internet and on social media, discovered a Second Amendment advocacy community there, and from there, got involved going to different events, and got invited to different podcasts in the Second Amendment and kind of I call it the freedom space, and was told by a lot of people that I respect, like Hank Strange. He's one of the OGs in the gun community. Kevin Dixie, he's a firearms instructor and advocate, and other great people. Argo J, hey, seem to be pretty good at this. Maybe you should do your own show. And it was when COVID and all that stuff happened. So obviously it's like, well, I'm not going anywhere. And nothing's going on. Every event that I was going to go to got canceled. So I focused on that. And, I'd watched guys like Ripa, Eric July for a long time.
Yeah.
And, through strange serendipitous events and like single degrees of separation, there's a lot of overlap, obviously, between the gun community having to do with freedom, libertarianism, and all of that. And so eventually had some connections that overlapped. And ironically enough, Eric's got a young woman that works for him named Caro Brown. If you see social media, she does a lot of his scheduling and things like that and event planning. And she's fantastic. And she used to watch the first show that I ever did, which was Locked and Loaded Latinos back in the day. And, I think I'd mentioned Eric, talking about libertarianism or something like that, and recommended that people watch him. And she said, I work for Eric. Would you like to come on to his show? I think that you're good. And, it would be awesome. This was back when Eric used to do his daily show, and he used to have guests on and things like that. Obviously, he's moved on doing different things. He still does his different shows, but he focuses on epic. On Ripaverse more than anything else. So was able to go on to his show. Ironically, it was 3 days before January 6th, and a lot of the things that we talked about got thrown out the window after January 6th. And I don't, so it just kind of like blew up the world politically. So, Eric normally would have people on for 30 minutes. We ended up talking to him for like almost 2 hours at the time, and we really hit it off. And, but that all, got blown up. So that never aired. So that was like some underground thing that nobody ever knew about. But Eric remembered us, and we went to an event a few months later called the Solutionary Summit. And it's kind of like a libertarian freedom minded event within the gun community, thrown by this gentleman called Maj Toure, who he's got a nonprofit organization called Black Guns Matter to kind of like undermine the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and make it a double entendre with the guns, but also being about gun ownership in the black community and destigmatizing that and trying to spread freedom mindedness into the inner city, which is pretty dominated by the left culturally. So Eric was one of the speakers there. It's perfect. Got to see him in person. We did our podcast there live. Got to interview him and kind of flip the tables around. That was pretty cool. Got to meet his wife. She's fantastic. And from there, I watched what he was doing and how he got involved with other people in the space. And then, that's kind of how I got involved in the gaming space. I always did, different gaming streams because I always wanted to set an example of, hey, you can be, conservative leaning or libertarian leaning, freedom minded constitutionalist, be into guns, but that doesn't mean that you're like some white redneck dude in the mountains, which there's nothing wrong with that either, but there's a stereotype with this stuff, right? A lot of times that the media is trying to portray. So I always wanted to do something different. I hated leaning into the race thing, but in the gun community, it was pretty important because there were so few examples of Latinos that were, fairly young, that were into guns and then into video games and all that. So that was always kind of a Trojan horse for bringing in the freedom movement. And then obviously, while that was all going on in the background, we had obviously the repercussions of Gamergate that had been going on for years. Yeah. And really, I think that the Last Jedi kind of blew everything open, combining with the singularity of Trump being elected. And that just opened up the pop cultural political space fusion that we see today, for better or for worse. And so that kind of all coalesced at the same time that this was going on in my life. And it was kind of a perfect transition there with trying to combine the two things. So that's kind of how I got involved in that space. And, then everybody's seen me for the last few years on, different channels, Geeks and Gamers. I've been on Epicverse and things like that. So, and still doing my own thing. Mostly I've been doing gaming streams. Everybody wants me to get back heavily into politics with my Rolo's Ranch show. Sometimes I don't do it just because it can be fatiguing.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
Yeah,
100% I get that.
Yeah, and as somebody who used to do a show with like a co-host, switching to a solo show, I've been a lot better at it than I thought I would be. But it can be a challenge sometimes, like talking 2 or 3 hours and you're alone. But I guess I'm kind of a gas bag, so I can do it.
Yeah,
I don't know how Mike does it with as much energy as he does, though, where he can do it like solo for like 2 hours at midnight, just talking crazy. Like that's a special talent. I can do that, but my energy level is like 5 or 10 below his.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Project Eggroll podcast. Make sure to catch us live every Saturday at 7 p.m. Also, be sure to subscribe, and we will see you all there.